All right, I've taken a break from College Football 25 and I've watched the new trailer and read the deep dive article for Madden 25 franchise mode and presentation. We're going to break it all down today. What's coming to Madden 25? In a world where there is now a new college football alternative, I've been wanting to see if Madden could do something this year that would make me want to play that over college football. I don't have unlimited time, and I already have a lot of stuff going on College Football 25, so let's see what's coming to the game this year. The focuses for them were immersion, customization, depth, and core improvements. Technically 3.5, 4 pillars. We're not going to get too in the weeds on this, though. Starting with the immersion side of things, the storylines are getting much more attention in this game. 70 brand new dynamic storylines that are going to have different impacts on your team. We do have a few storylines in the game already. For instance, a veteran that is set to retire while you're entering the postseason can give your team a morale boost. Or a wide receiver not happy they're not getting the football often triggers a storyline where they tell you they want the ball, and you can tell them yes or no. So we're getting more added to that side of the game, which I do appreciate. As an example, they talk about a player showing up to training camp out of shape. How are you going to react to that? And the reaction is going to have an impact based on a player's personality type. So that's in their traits. I'm not sure if they've really talked about that before, if that has like a lot of effects that we don't see. Reporters can also give you questions that can start different storylines based on your off-season plan, and they're talking about in this paragraph how when you give an answer, then you're kind of going to be held to that. And I'm curious what the positives and negatives are if you say you're going to go in a direction in the off-season and you go someplace else. I'm really interested in this part where they talk about how you are given the option to sit a rookie quarterback for an entire year, and you can get a reward for that. And in the past, there's really been no reason to not play a guy because that's the way players get better, is on field. Like, their statistical production is tied to their upgrades, and outside of weekly training, there's no other way for them to get better. I always want to see Madden give you reasons to act, think, and play more realistically. That's the style I like. It's what I've been drawn to for 20 plus years playing the game. These storylines are going to take place in a few different environments. You're going to have the team meeting room, a coach's office, press conference, at practice, or the locker room. And there's also text messages that we're going to see from coordinators and coaches. I'm curious to see how they play out during things like contract extensions. I'd like to see those negotiations be maybe a little more challenging, especially in the case of the best players in the game that want to reset the market in real life. But to me, the storylines always had the potential, if they were done well, to make it so if 10 people start a franchise with the same team, that theirs can all feel unique. And given there really isn't a whole lot of new stuff to talk about in this deep dive, I really hope the storylines do add that kind of depth. Now, it seems they have also revamped the way breakouts work, so we've been seeing those for a few years, where a player gets a certain statistical goal for that 1 week. If they achieve it, they get a breakout opportunity. It's made deeper in this game. So now there are different paths and outcomes. Some of them can be 1 week challenges or several. And in some cases, you can take a player up more than one development trait. There's an example they talk about here where after the game, there's a slim chance that you can get a double or nothing opportunity to extend that storyline a week further. That gets you the chance at multiple development trait upgrades. They're giving you a little more freedom in the difficulty of the goal you're trying to get. So the easier the goal, the less the reward. But obviously, the more you risk, the more you can get. You can get XP, multiple attribute upgrades. I'm curious if the negatives are more than just not getting the boost. They talk about if you fail an aggressive challenge, you can set the player back for the foreseeable future. Maybe that has to do with like dropping their morale, which hurts their short-term ratings, which could affect how they play that season. And if they're getting, more or less XP, because the more they produce, the more improvement they're going to get. They really wanted to emulate the stories of players like Isaiah Pacheco and Puka Nacua, and I've been trying to do that with things like my XP slider set last year, so that rookies that truly have great seasons can find a way to become stars quicker. So that's a focus I do like. NFL Draft Night is getting a bit of an overhaul, and there is also a new prospect board that I really like so far, at least what I've seen. The fact that you can sort through all these different variables will definitely decrease the time to look at, say, a position group like receiver and just want to know, if you want a deep threat, who are the fastest guys, because that's the role that I'm looking for. And I saw in the trailer you can pull the left trigger and you can sort by more than just physicals. You can sort by combine information, ratings as well. So this is going to be a really nice quality of life improvement for the draft experience. Roger Goodell is now in the game, and he's going to be there on the draft stage, and players will be able to walk up and hold up their new jersey while they're wearing a new suit and not their football uniforms, so a little more immersive feel there. The trailer also showed some of the feedback you're going to get. So a few years ago in franchise, we would get told the true talent grade of a player when we took them. That seems to be brought back. Man, I hope this one's done right. These players should have new gear and updated equipment to look authentic. Do not give them all the bulky shoulder pads, and I just don't want the outdated helmets, bulky shoulder pads, having to change this stuff. I want players to come in with a unique look to give them their own personality. The main franchise UI has also gotten a little bit of a refresh. So now they're going to be giving you some text notifications on the left side. Those can be from your position coaches, or in this case, looks like there is a GM. For when you're starting up a franchise, I do like the improved UI they made, where you can look at a team, see their record last year, their ratings in a lot of different categories, as well as the team breakdown by development trait. Nice touch there. Looks like a big reason for this UI redesign is to integrate the new PM system, so you're going to be able to see more of the big news around the league and different updates to hopefully make you feel more connected to what's going on in your franchise. And then we got the introduction of Team Builder. We have not been able to make custom teams in Madden since Madden 12. Now, this is through the Team Builder website. It's not integrated into the game, which I do view as a negative. One day, those servers will go down. It will no longer be accessible. And the industry standard is really more so to have this stuff built into the actual game. For instance, when you make an expansion team in NBA 2K, you're not going to a website to do it. You're doing it from the game. I have not really messed around with Team Builder yet in college football because I heard it was buggy and there were some limitations I really wasn't too happy with, but I'm happy to see Team Builder as at least an option, and that's something I may explore. One thing I like in college football that's going to be in Madden now, the team and, for Madden specifically, rookie records. So being able to go into the stats and see that history for your team and just different records you have a chance to break. I always like that kind of thing in franchise and dynasty, adds to the long-term experience for me. Roster AI and progression. The AI should be emphasizing extending young core talent, but waiting to the offseason to make decisions on veterans. That is a good improvement. Smarter decisions focused on long-term roster improvements in the NFL draft and not just focused on immediate roster spots. Hopefully what that means is just more drafting for best player available and not just what their team needs end up being. Refined player progression ensures that older players regress physically as you'd expect, while younger stars receive more opportunities to make an impact early in their career. You'll no longer see Derrick Henry get faster at 31 or 32, and if your young quarterback plays like CJ Stroud last year, he'll be rewarded for it. I'm curious if that just means they've tuned the speed at which those players are going to upgrade. I did a lot of work last year on the XP sliders to kind of get that effect. So as long as you have a high dev player with good production, they will see meaningful upgrades. I've wanted that to be the default. Hopefully we're closer to that. There's also some new logic for the AI in free agency, the draft, franchise tags, re-signings. In Create a Coach, you can now make a female coach. And for the Super Bowl, they have a new Super Bowl celebration. On the presentation front, we've got new 3D grass and turf. We've got the lab, which includes practice mode and mini games. This practice facility does look pretty nice. Gillette Stadium has its upgrade with its new massive video board. There are improvements to shadows and lighting, added depth of field and motion blur options. More player likenesses along with coaches, and then uniforms. They've improved the lighting on those as well to make it look better. The Texans have a new uniform, and if it's the one that was in the trailer, I am a fan. Superstar mode has more custom faces, facial hair options, tattoos, depth of field, secondary animation, so we're back more on kind of the gameplay front. The Sapien technology is something they talked about back in the early info period, basically talking about kind of the more player movement and how those physics are going to work and everything. So essentially, the big thing here is they've separated the shoulder pads from the actual player, so those pads get their own animations, and it should make player movement hopefully look a little more natural. They've added new music to the game from a variety of genres, and there's supposed to be some classic tracks as well. I remember back in the day, I loved listening to the Madden soundtracks from 04 to 08 was probably the prime time for me there. And then they've got new commentary in the game as well. There are, I believe, 3 teams now because they've introduced the Mike Tirico, Greg Olsen combo, Kate Scott, and Brock Heward. So if you keep the commentary on, there should be some variety there. Just like in College Football 25, they've been sampling real audio from television broadcasts, and in this case, NFL films to make the crowd sound better. The crowd does sound pretty good in College Football 25. This is an area where I think presentation has needed one of the biggest boosts. To me, commentary only does a very small part of the job in making a game feel more immersive. To me, when you can see stats like this in the pregame with a guy like McCaffrey warming up, that gives it much more of a TV broadcast feel than just a fresh new commentary team. TV production quality makes a huge difference, especially in those primetime games. And Madden has really done away with a lot of that stuff over the years. So I want to see this stuff in the pregame. I want to see more updates during the game, and they shared some examples of that. Here is, for instance, Lamar Jackson coming out. We see the QB rushing yard stat leaders. Menu looks good, or the UI looks good there. I'd also like to say they really need to start doing a player of the game at the end of every game. Show me a top performer with their stats, getting interviewed at the end. Defensive team celebrations, most of the time when it's not even a cool play in real life, I'm here we go again, long run to the end zone for another celebration, but it's in the game. Maybe I'm just getting old, but I don't like the team defensive celebration unless it was a real sick play. Don't go pose for a photo when you recovered a fumble that you didn't even cause. Super Bowl, they have new celebration. And apparently, if you lose, you're not going to see the whole Lombardi Trophy ceremony. If your player and superstar is the MVP, you're going to be the one raising the Lombardi. If not, you're still going to be in the background. And that brings us to the end of the deep dive article. Overall, what they are doing, I think, does improve the mode. I think storylines are a key way to make franchise feel a bit unique. And it just hasn't had the depth to really do that yet. So I like that there's going to be a lot more storylines in this game. But to me, the biggest issue that wasn't talked about at all in the deep dive is, without a doubt, the simulation engine. The fact that playbooks are so powerful, they make the same teams good year in, year out for the last entire handful of Maddens. The Cowboys are going to be good. We've seen things in playbooks where the Chiefs tight end, no matter who it is, when Travis Kelce retires, The next guy up has been dominant, and he turns into a star, 1,200 yards. The playbooks are too powerful and have far too much influence in the sim engine, which makes everything feel very samey from year to year. We've also seen in things like Super Sim that there are very few big plays. The running game simulation will feature predominantly carries under 7 or 8 yards, very few breakaway plays. The sim engine has not been very good for a while. Yardage leaders in terms of rushing and receiving rarely match similar production that we see in real life. Quarterbacks have inflated production, and there are far too many with that 30-plus touchdown, like 11 or less interception mark. I'm not just jealous because I can't do that myself. And then there are things like CPU making draft day trades and moving up and down the board, which used to be in Madden. I think even in like Madden 15, for instance, in my Panthers franchise, I'm pretty sure we were seeing teams move up above us, and I want to see the CPU move up in the draft. On the whole, this is a pretty underwhelming deep dive. What's there is fine, but there are a lot of long-term issues that I'd like to see addressed. I understand that they have to prioritize what they're going to do year to year, but when things have been a problem for a long time, I feel that every year a problem exists, its priority to be fixed should go up. I've been enjoying the on-field experience more and more since the PS5 generation really revamped the gameplay in a way. It's been improving, and I've been enjoying my franchises. But the off-field experience, to me, needs more depth, more replayability feel, more variance. And I do think some of this will contribute to that. But is there anything here that's going to be enough for me to put down college football to pick this up instead? I'm sure I'll be doing some content in franchise at some point. I don't see this being a very busy Madden year for me. College football is new, really enjoying it even with issues in the game, and I want to play Dynasty. I would not expect a main channel franchise on Madden this year. But I'll be here when the game comes out in a couple weeks to explore franchise mode and to see what problems are still in the game, what has been ironed out, and what the overall experience is like. I do think Madden has been improving, but this doesn't seem like a year where they're trying to move the bar much higher. There is certainly a chance that the storylines can actually add a great deal of depth into franchise mode, and improvements to like the draft UI and the prospect list there, definitely want to experience that over what we've had previously, but I'd like more of the under the hood changes, stuff you don't always like notice immediately, but does impact the experience, like the simulation engine. It feels like a year where there's going to be a smaller step forward in franchise. But let me know what you think down below. Do you think these are meaningful changes? Do they make a big difference to you or not? And how do you plan on spending your time this year between the two games? For me personally, I think it's going to be maybe an 80-20 split between college football and Madden. I'm sure I'm going to want to do some things, and maybe I start a series maybe later in the fall on the second channel, but I just don't see me getting deep into it immediately, and I'm going to keep playing a lot of college football most likely. But thank you for watching today's video. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content across college football 25 and Madden, but we'll see how much of that there will be this year. Have a great day. See you next time.